In the sun-baked cul-de-sacs of Pine Haven Estates, Colorado, where every lawn blade stood at perfect attention and every mailbox gleamed like it paid rent to the HOA, one backyard pool party turned the whole neighborhood into a battlefield. And the woman who started the war? She ended up writing her own obituary in 12-point Arial. The October sun was still warm when I fired up the fog machine and watched my kids lose their minds. Jake, 9, had the skeleton lifeguards doing the dab on the diving board. Mia, 7, floated the giant Grim Reaper on an inner tube like he was sunbathing in the afterlife. Orange lights twinkled, low-volume Monster Mash hummed just loud enough for the mailman to grin, and the neighbor kids to beg their parents for one more lap. It was tacky, ridiculous, and exactly the kind of harmless chaos that makes October worth surviving the other 11 months. Then Evelyn Hargrove appeared at my gate like a process server from hell. Pearl necklace cinched so tight it looked like it was holding back 40 years of unspoken resentment. Clipboard welded to her hand. She didn't knock. She didn't smile. She just stepped onto my property like the deed had her name on it. "Mr. Mitchell," she said, voice sweet enough to rot teeth, "these installations are in flagrant violation of Section 4, Paragraph 7b of the Pine Haven Aesthetic Standards." I wiped fog off my glasses. "You mean the Halloween stuff?" "Macabre aquatic morbidity," she corrected, eyes narrowing like I'd just confessed to grave robbing. "Floating corpses undermine community tranquility." Behind her, my son made a skeleton wave. Evelyn didn't flinch. She snapped photos like she was documenting a crime scene, refused my wife's offer of spice cider, "I don't accept beverages from violators," and left a trail of blue painter's tape on my fence that read violation, 48 hours. 2 hours later the cops rolled up. Officer Ramirez stepped out, took one look at the Grim Reaper doing the backstroke, and bit back a laugh so hard his partner snorted. Dispatch said public menace. This a menace? I shrugged. Only if you hate fun. They walked the yard, radioed in decorative skeletons, 0 laws broken, and left with 2 burgers wrapped in foil. Evelyn stood across the street, phone still glued to her ear, face the color of a stop sign. She waved the officers over like they were her personal SWAT team. They waved back at me. The first fine hit my inbox at 6:07 a.m. the next morning. $75 for unauthorized atmospheric effects. Another $50 for non-compliant holiday population density. By Wednesday I was staring at $425 and a certified letter demanding I dismantle the entire display or face daily $500 penalties. I took everything down. Grim Reaper deflated like a sad balloon. Skeletons went into bins labeled Evidence A. The kids watched from the window, faces pressed to the glass like they'd just seen Santa get fired. My wife squeezed my shoulder. "She's not winning, Ryan. She's just louder." That night I did what every engineer does when cornered. I opened the 87-page Pine Haven HOA bylaws PDF and read it like it owed me money. Buried on page 64, Section 12D glowed like a neon sign from heaven. Displays of a religious or cultural nature installed in recognition of seasonal or spiritual observances shall be exempt from aesthetic uniformity regulations. Samhain, the ancient Celtic festival marking the veil between worlds. The real root of Halloween. Older than Evelyn's pearls, older than her clipboard, older than her entire personality. I grinned so wide my face hurt. Saturday morning the skeletons returned, but this time each one wore a small laminated plaque. Guardian of the Veil, Samhain Cultural Observance. The Grim Reaper got a bigger sign. Symbolic passage between worlds, protected under Section 12D. I planted a tasteful wooden placard at the pool gate. Annual Samhain exhibit, honoring ancestral traditions since 2000 BC. Fully compliant, Pine Haven HOA bylaws. By noon half the block was taking selfies. By sunset Evelyn's email notifications must have sounded like a slot machine having a stroke. Subject, fraudulent misuse of religious exemption. Subject, mockery of community values. Subject, emergency board meeting tonight. I printed every single one. I timestamped them. I forwarded the juiciest to my retired attorney neighbor, Harlan Voss, who read them, laughed until he coughed, and said, "Son, she just gift-wrapped her own termination papers." The emergency meeting at the clubhouse smelled like burnt coffee and desperation. Folding chairs packed. Phones recording. Evelyn stood at the podium like a general who'd already lost the war but refused to surrender the map. Behind her, a projector slide screamed, "Evidence of spiritual fraud," over a photo of my Grim Reaper. Mr. Mitchell has weaponized our own bylaws to turn this neighborhood into a pagan circus, she thundered. I stood up slowly, binder thick enough to stop a bullet. Actually, Evelyn, I followed them. Word for word. Want me to read the part you apparently skipped? I slid section 12D across the table, highlighted in screaming yellow. Officer Ramirez from Code Enforcement stepped forward, invited by me, not her. We reviewed every notice you issued, ma'am. Half-cite county codes that don't even apply to private yards. The rest, well, let's just say questioning someone sincerely held cultural observance walks awfully close to federal territory. Evelyn's pearls looked ready to snap. This is mockery. From the back row someone played the audio I'd quietly recorded weeks earlier. Evelyn in my driveway hissing, "People like you don't belong in neighborhoods like mine." The room went dead silent, then exploded. Laughter. Applause. One board member actually face-palmed. Evelyn's face cycled through every shade of rage before settling on ghost white. Linda Chun, usually the quiet treasurer, stood up. "Evelyn, we voted. Effective immediately, you're removed as president. Misuse of authority, reputational damage, and honestly, we're tired of the daily drama." Evelyn clutched her clipboard like it was the last lifeboat on the Titanic. "You can't." "We just did," Linda said softly. "And the city's opening an audit on how community funds paid for your rose garden. Enjoy that." The video of Evelyn shrieking skeleton priests in a pool of sin hit local Facebook before the meeting even ended. By morning it had 47,000 views and its own hashtag. Pinehaven Pollgate trended harder than the Broncos. Local news vans parked outside her house. Someone left a single plastic skeleton on her porch holding a tiny sign, "I'm with the Veil." 2 weeks later, Evelyn sold her house at a loss and moved to a gated community that promised zero tolerance for festivities. The new board's first act was a one-page newsletter written in actual English. Celebrate responsibly. Read the rules before you weaponize them. That next October, my pool was officially the Pinehaven Samhain Community Exhibit, complete with city approval and a donation jar for the local food bank. Kids splashed. Parents laughed. The Grim Reaper floated proudly in his Hawaiian shirt. And every time someone asked how I pulled it off, I just pointed at the bylaws framed on my garage wall and smiled. Because the sweetest revenge isn't yelling louder. It's watching the control freak choke on the exact same rulebook she tried to drown everyone else with. So tell me, was Evelyn Hargrove the victim of an overzealous neighbor, or did she simply get exactly what she spent years dishing out? True or false, the real power abuser always ends up tangled in their own web. Drop your HOA horror stories below. Let's see who's next.